Hey, what's up everyone? It's Roy. Welcome to SpecFreq Dev video number 17. In the last video, I talked about how I'm going to create a series of videos showing how to create your own zone in SpecFreq, and that's what this one's going to be about. I just released a new zone called Carrier Capture, and it's a small like 4v4 zone. You're on top of an aircraft carrier, single flag in the middle. It's supposed to be really fast paced. I'm going to use that as the foundation for these videos. So if you want to check out that zone, um, it's up on Steam now. Go ahead and play it. Let me know what you think. I'm going to show you how I built it, and if you follow along, you'll be able to have your own zone as well. So I'm going to go through a bunch of tools. I'll have links for all the tools down in the description below. Everything is free, for the most part, open source. But let's jump on it. So the first tool is Godot. So I use Godot as the video engine for the game, but also as a zone editor. Now Godot just released version 4.4. I haven't tested with it yet. I don't recommend testing with Godot 4.4. So what we're gonna do is go to the download link up here. We're gonna go to previous versions, and you're gonna want this Godot 4.3. Is there a .NET one? Nope. This is the one you want. And so when you click on this, you want the .NET. So if you use other OS, I probably should have mentioned all my deving is done in Windows. You're gonna want the .NET version. Download that and install it. That will give you the engine that actually like we use the engine as the editor for the game as well. And so you'll have that. The next thing you're gonna want is an IDE to edit C Sharp. So I use Visual Studio 2022. You can download this. I'm pretty sure it's free. I think I have the community edition. Some people like to use Rider. Well, C Sharp editor. I'm not as familiar with this one, but it comes very highly recommended. I just don't use it. So once you have Godot and Visual Studio, you can now start editing your zone, but you need to download it first. So before we download it, you're also going to need Git. So source control management is really important. When you make a change, you want to be able to check that change in. I use this all the time. I'll make a change that doesn't go well and I broke my code. I just revert the code back, and it's like I started fresh again. It's awesome. I highly recommend downloading Git, using that as source control management. You're going to need it to clone the repository down. There's plenty of YouTube videos about how to use Git, so I recommend watching some of those as well. But just click download here. And as a front end, I use Tortoise Git. So what's nice about Tortoise Git is you can right click instead of having to go, let's go into like Desert Assault. Instead of having to do everything from the Git command line, it gives you all these handy options here. Highly recommend Tortoise Git. Awesome project, makes life with Git a lot easier. Okay, so at this point, you've downloaded Godot 4.3 .NET Edition. You've downloaded your favorite C Sharp editor. Let's go with Visual Studio. You've downloaded Git, you've downloaded Tortoise Git, you've installed all those on your machine, and you're now ready to get into the zone. So I will post this link. This will be public really soon. I just got to finalize some small things. But what you're going to want to do here, you want to pull the zone code down to your computer. The way you do that is once you go to this URL, which again is not public yet, but it'll be public real soon, and you click this little copy button here, we're going to clone that down. So let's jump into here. Pick your favorite folder to work on. I'm going to go to Git clone. The nice thing about Tortoise Git is it automatically copies a URL. You see that URL is the same as the one up here. And then let's just give it a folder. Let's just call this one video test. I'm just going to hit OK. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to reach out to that repository up on GitHub. It's going to copy all the files, bring them down. You see it went pretty quick, quicker than I thought it would go. And if I go into SpecFreq video test, here are all the files. Now, here's the tricky part. You don't want to check back into my repository. In fact, you won't be able to because it will be read-only. You're going to want to create your own repository and kind of do that from scratch. And so highly recommend using GitHub for that. Now, again, you don't have to use GitHub or anything like that. I find it very helpful, but I highly recommend that you do. It works out really well. And so what you're going to want to do is go into your profile here. You're going to want to create a new repository. We're just going to call this one SpecFreq video test. I'm gonna just make this, I'll make it public for now, it doesn't really matter. Create the repository. Now, this is simply so you don't push changes back into my repository and get a access denied message. So I'm gonna go into my folder here. I'm going to rename this video test 1 because that's the old one. I'm going to clone the new one. This is what we just created, right? It's going to be completely empty. Nothing in there. Sweet. I'm going to take all these files. I just copied it all and copy it into here. Why did I do that? Because now when you make changes and you check them in, um, it is to your own personal repository. It's not to my personal repository or into the SpecFreq like public repository. The nice thing with cloning my stuff down and just copying it into here, this git ignore file, when you check stuff into git, you don't want every single thing like version control, like your editor preferences. This will make sure none of that gets checked in. And so we'll commit this one. Let's call it initial commit. You want everything, commit push. Let's let that do its thing. First time will take a little bit longer because it has to upload all those files back up there. But the nice thing is when you make changes and you kind of commit them, it's only going to upload the deltas. It's only going to upload what's different between them. Okay, sweet. So now if you were, let's say this is in your profile, you're in your SpecFreq video test. If I hit the refresh button, here's all the files. Awesome. So all our tools are downloaded. We've cloned the repository down. It's now time to check out our stuff. So open Godot on your computer from wherever you installed it. And again, 4.3. 4.4 looks awesome. I haven't tested with it yet. So I can't recommend it yet. I'm sure it's going to be great, but use 4.3. I believe there's actually a, yep, 4.3 stable mono official. That's what you want. So I'm going to click that import button, and I'm going to find wherever I put that repository. So SpecFreq video test. Here we go. And there's a project right there. And I'm just going to import and edit. And minimize that while it loads up. Now, everything should load. It should be a totally blank slate here. It's got to do some importing. Yep, this is perfect. First thing you want to do, you should have this little build project button here. Click that button and everything should compile with no problems. You can ignore these things, but as long as this guy is green and it looks like it compiled, I think we are all good. Sweet. So the next video we'll talk about how to build your zone. But for now, we know things compile. I want to show you how to update your configuration files because that's the next step. And so we're going to go into the XML editor. And here are the examples that I included. I'm going to open these up in Notepad++ because that's my favorite tool for editing files. So when I release the repository with all the servers and everything, you'll have a way to run your zone locally. Again, that will also be coming real soon. But right now you have 5 configuration files. They're all important. If you want to have a store for players to buy stuff from your game, this is a store configuration file. This is a chat server one. I'm going to do a totally separate video on setting up all the actual like backend software tools to run it. But for the most part, I tried to keep everything kind of human readable. What you're going to want to do is go in and update the paths for everything. And so we'll save that for the next video when I do how to set up all your like backend services. The more important one is going to be this zone configuration file. So when you decide what your zone is called, so if we want to call this test video zone, you're going to want to need to give your zone a key. I recommend being as unique as possible, no special characters. So we'll call this TVZ1000. The reason that's important is the client looks for that to be a unique key for just your zone and nothing else. And so you're going to want to take that from whatever file you edit in and then go across all these. And I thought, here we go, zone key. Update it there. I don't think we need it there. We'll update it there. And there should be another one here somewhere. Sweet. The other important thing to do is inside your project here, we're going to go in, and I'm going to show you this later as well, but you're going to also want to update it here in the code. So you see I copy pasted it down to the scene key there. The other thing you're going to want to do is go into these ports and adjust them so that if you use this by default, everything just works out of the box. The only thing you have to worry about is paths. But if you want to run more than one zone at a time, you're going to have to adjust all these ports. I actually did bundle a zone editor I just realized that I'm missing a whole bunch of files, so let me copy them in, and then I will fix this by the time that you watch this video. So I believe if I take them from, this should work. All right, by the time you watch this video, the repository will be fixed. Without these files, it would have done a bunch of errors. So this is the zone editor I worked on a while ago. If you open these files from it, so let's see, Godot, SpecFreq video test, XML editor, examples. This one was a chat config, I believe. Sweet. And let's load the load balancer one. And I'll show you why we want to do all this. Server, store, and zone. Okay, so I thought did I not update the scene key in this one? Well, this is a good test. So if I go into SpecFreq, verify config settings, select all these files, do you see how it verifies all the ports are lined up and it checks for all the zone keys? So because I guess I didn't save it when I did zone, so I'm going to copy it over. Where is it? Here we go, TVZ 1000. And let's paste this into here. Let's save this file. Now let's go verify again. Sweet, all zone keys are aligned. That's what we want to see there. So you're welcome to use this editor. I prefer Notepad++ just because it's easier for me. I do, for some of these, have tooltips. You see it right there. The editor just gives it, I guess, a little bit of an easier view to read. But my personal preference, Notepad++. It's easy to read. Oh, here you go. Yeah, I guess I just never saved it before. So yeah, that's actually it for the most part. At this point, we've set up all our tools. We've pulled the repository down. Where is it? Right there. We pulled it into our own repository. Let's save this back in. Check-in number. So we'll say updated zone configuration. Make sure it grabs everything that we want. It does. We're going to select all. Let's push this back up. Uh-oh. What is this saying? Oh, I think we need to close this guy. Let's try it again. Command push. All right, I'll figure why it's not letting me check it back in. Is it? Looks like something is just holding on to a file. Obviously, it would not be an actual video if it wasn't throwing errors. Okay, there we go. Sweet. So you normally don't have to close everything. I'm not sure why one of the files was locked here. But anyway, let's get back to it. So everything's downloaded, our zone's updated. You can now go and start editing your zone itself. So in the next video, I'll talk about how we can start building carrier capture. We'll drag some stuff in, we'll add some new models, that kind of thing. But I want to do this one just to kind of show how to set up your environment and your workspace. Again, when I publish this video, I will have links to all the tools in the description below. Nothing here costs money. I don't even think Visual Studio costs money. I'm pretty sure all of these tools are free. You're welcome to donate to Git and Tortoise Git. I should mention I'm not sponsored by any of these folks. It's just what I've used to do all this stuff. If you have a question, please jump on Discord. Feel free to ask me the questions, and I'm happy to answer. All right, that's it for today. Thanks, everyone.